call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to remind everyone that we are live streaming the board meeting tonight, so welcome those who are joining us live via the web. At this time, I will ask for a motion to suspend the regular board meeting.
Motion.
I have a motion by Earl. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Pat. Any discussion? All those in favor? I have 6-0. Now at this time, I will also ask for a motion to open the consolidated 1028 additional appropriations hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion by Earl. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Any discussion? All those in favor? Again, 6-0. So now we'll move into the public hearing portion regarding the 2023 JCHS facility renovation. So we'll start with a budget presentation. Yes.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Hammond. I'm with Baker Tilly, and we serve as the school corporation's municipal financial advisor. So I'm going to talk through a few of the parameters that are being considered by the board this evening as a part of the project hearing, and in my presentation we'll focus on the finance portion of that. So with the first place I'll begin here in this evening is with a chart of the school's existing bonds outstanding. So this schedule here shows all the school corporation's current bonds. You'll notice that from 2022 through 2024, that annual payments are at about $3.6 million. And then there is a step down in payments beginning in 2025 as existing bonds mature. And you'll also notice that in 2031, all currently outstanding bonds are fully matured and repaid at that point. So we'll kind of circle back to this a little later, but I wanted to start just with a chart of where the school's current payments and bonds outstanding are. I'm really not going to spend any time on this schedule here because this is just the data that populates that chart. So if you have a copy of this in your board packet, you can look at. This shows each bond outstanding and what the annual payment is associated with each of those. So the next slide that I will spend some time on is a summary of the maximum parameters. So again, these will be in the resolutions considered by the board this evening. And I'm going to highlight some of the maximums. And first, before I get into these, it's important to know that at this stage in the process, whenever the board's considering a project, these parameters and numbers you'll see are do not exceed numbers and maximum numbers. So built into these, we try to be very conservative with costs. We don't want the school to be in a situation where the amount of money that they actually receive is less than what they were planning to receive. So we always kind of overestimate costs, and we also, when projecting out interest expense, tax rate, we always use very high interest rates to again allow for some time between now and when the bonds are sold. If there's fluctuation in the bond market and interest rates increase, you don't get into a situation where you have to adopt new parameters because interest rates have moved. So I just want to preface these numbers with saying that these are maximums, not to exceed numbers. 9.5 times out of 10 when the bonds are actually sold, you would see numbers that are less than what we're going to go through here today. So the maximum borrowing amount for the bonds being considered is $1,775,000. And that would generate, in terms of proceeds available for the project, about $1.6 million. There are some costs of issuance associated anytime you issue a bond. Those are things like the fees paid to the rating agencies, financial advisor, bond counsel. Those are all built into that. And that's where you get from the 1.775 down to 1.6. Again, conservative estimates at this point. We're also assuming that the bonds would be repaid over a maximum term of 15 years. And in a few slides, we'll get into some different scenarios. A decision does not need to be made on that until you get closer to selling the bonds, which we're anticipating to be around August right now. And these parameters being adopted gives you some flexibility on some different repayment terms, which we'll go through here in a few slides. The estimated interest expense, this is a maximum interest expense based on that 15-year repayment, would be $1,065,550. And I'll note that this is based on a 6% interest rate. What we're seeing in the bond market today is low 4%. So again, you see that is some conservative interest rates being used there. The maximum annual payment in the legal documents being considered is $1,358,800. And using that maximum payment, it translates to an estimated maximum tax rate of 12.42 cents. That is the maximum tax rate over the lifetime of the bonds. The more important number here is that we're anticipating no tax rate increase over where you currently are in 2023. So we looked at that chart with the current bonds. As those bonds pay off, it gives you opportunities to ramp up payments on new bonds with the overall goal of keeping your tax rate consistent over time. So the next slide here, we've put together 3 scenarios. Does not mean that the final form of the bonds, if the board decides to move forward, needs to look like any of these, but we've kind of done some bookends. So in order to repay the bonds in a way where there's no tax rate increase, the minimum repayment term would be a 5-year repayment on these bonds. And again, we've set that maximum at 15 years. So the ultimate repayment term could be anywhere in between those, but hopefully these 3 scenarios kind of give you some ideas and options to consider. So again, the borrowing amount of the $1,775,000. You see the interest expense associated with each of these 3 repayment scenarios. And a way to think about this is similar to, in your personal life, a mortgage, if you're looking at a 15-year versus a 30-year mortgage. With the 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay more in interest over the lifetime of the loan because it's outstanding for longer. However, the trade-off is that your annual or your payment that you're making is less. So that is the trade-off here. With the longer repayment term, there's more in interest that accrues simply because the bonds are outstanding for longer, but your annual payments are less. And that can sometimes preserve flexibility if a few years from now you wanted to issue another bond to keep your tax rate consistent. That's really the trade-off between these 3 scenarios. And again, with all 3 of these, we're able to structure in a way where we can keep your tax rate consistent with where it has been this past year in 2023. So this is showing the 5-year repayment, and the kind of tealish color is those are the existing bonds that we looked at a few slides ago, and this other blue color represents illustrative payments on a 5-year repayment on a bond of $1,775,000. So in this scenario, you'll notice in 27 and 2028, as existing payments kind of step down, we've really ramped up payments on this proposed bond. This would be a scenario that minimizes interest cost over the life of the bonds, but you'll notice it kind of keeps payments high for a few years, which may, as you consider additional projects in a few years from now, that may kind of eat into some of your capacity to look at additional borrowings. But this is the 5-year repayment scenario. The next one is the 10-year repayment, and you'll notice quite a bit of difference here in how this 10-year repayment fits on with your existing debt. So you have pretty substantial step down still in 2027, and then even more room in 2028 and on to look at additional projects or to look at a larger borrowing perhaps a few years from now, again, that can keep your payments consistent over time. And then the last scenario here is the 15-year. So again, this is going to be similar to the 10-year scenario, but even more pronounced. So the annual payments are even smaller. And again, it just preserves additional flexibility for future projects down the road. I have one additional slide I want to go through here, and this is just a calculation of the school's current general obligation bonding capacity. So the last few bonds that the board has and the school has taken out have been what's called first mortgage bonds. You may remember there was a building corporation involved with those. From a debt service standpoint, a first mortgage bond and a general obligation bond are very similar. The tax rate is essentially the same, payments are the same. It's just a slightly different mechanism for issuing those bonds. These bonds will be general obligation bonds, so there's no need for a building corporation to be involved. The legal process is a little more straightforward. But you are bound by this capacity formula that's determined at the state level. So I just wanted to share briefly kind of how this works and show how the proposed 2023 bonds kind of relate with this schedule. So it's a weird formula. I don't know where it came from, but it is consistent across municipalities throughout the state. They have to follow this formula for general obligation bonds. And how you get there is you take your current net assessed value, you divide by 3, and then take 2% of that. That gets you to your debt limit, and then you would subtract out the principal amount outstanding on any current bonds, GO bonds, or general obligation bonds that the school has. With Jennings County, there are none currently outstanding, so there's nothing to subtract. And that $6.9 million number is your bonding capacity to do a GO bond. After, if the board decides to move forward and issue these bonds, you would subtract out the $1,775,000 from this number, and what's left would be your remaining capacity for general obligation bonds. I believe that is it. Yeah, this is just a summary of the assumptions that we used. I think I highlighted most of them throughout the presentation. So that is my portion. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have, and I'll also stick around if the public has any questions to answer those as well.
So first we'll start with board. Does anyone on the board have any questions? Okay.
I guess I do have a question. You talk about having a zero impact on taxes and the maximum estimate. How often are you wrong?
So we say the tax rate.
Right.
So with those, there are quite a few variables that goes into determining the tax rate. Net assessed value is one. The schools was up 15% last year. It's a little in the weeds, but the school corporation has in the debt service fund a large cash balance. So worst case scenario, if there was no growth in net assessed value, we could use that cash balance to make payments on these bonds in those years before debt really starts to step down and alleviate the tax impact that way. So, and also by adopting these maximum parameters, they're really do not exceed numbers. So that kind of binds us with where we're at with that.
I guess another way, there's no real intention to cause taxes to be raised.
Correct. There's always things that are kind of outside of your control with the tax rate. If net assessed value dropped, 30, 40%, that's obviously outside of your control, and that could raise the tax rate. But with everything that we see, and including that cash balance, we don't project any kind of increase to the tax rate.
Any additional questions from the board? Hearing none, is there any questions or any comments from the public? Okay, well then, at this time, then I need a motion to close these hearings. I have a motion by Earl. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mary Lynn. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. And then now, at this time, I need a motion to resume the regular board meeting. I have a motion by Travis. Do I have a second? Second by Cheryl. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. So now we will resume the regular board meeting. I was a little all over the place. So first item on the agenda is to approve consent agenda items. So do I have a motion to accept consent agenda? I have a motion by Earl. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. I think Earl raised his hand. Okay, At this point, I would like to ask if there's anyone present who would like to speak to anything, any item that is not on the board agenda or that is on the board agenda. This is your opportunity to speak publicly. Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move on to old business, and we start with programs. Mary?
Yes, I'm just asking for approval for our K through 6 social studies curriculum. It will be a 5-year plan for printed and online. It is Social Studies Weekly. We do have some teachers who are already using it and purchasing independently. So I'm just asking for approval.
Okay.
And this was the top pick for the teachers, you
Yes.
say?
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the elementary social studies textbook adoption?
So moved.
I have a motion by Pat. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Cheryl. Any discussion? Carrie, remind me, please, one more time. We did give the opportunity for community members to also review this textbook
Yes,
option.
we had it in our newsletters, and I did have several parents look it over and give suggestions on all of them.
Great. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? 6-0. So now we'll go down to new business under programs. We'll talk about the PACE program update.
Yes, we started the PACE program this year kind of in response to an increase in some behaviors and things that were happening as we adjust expectations of students and start teaching the students more of what we're wanting them to do in the classrooms. So we started the PACE program, which is our Panther Alternative Classroom Environment. This is used as an alternative to expulsion, so students, rather than being expelled or being put on a homebound situation, they're going to a classroom off-site at our Jennings County Education Center. You guys approved for a paraprofessional to be hired to split, so we did not have to hire a teacher right away. Some of the things that they've done there is they work on their classwork. Most of the students in there are working through a program called Edgenuity, where they work at their own pace and they can get help from the teacher. And then we do have a few students who are far enough along in a class that it made more sense to keep them working with the teachers at the high school or middle school on Google Classroom. They also have worked on career exploration and just regular career skills. They've filled out applications. They've done some mock interviews with the teacher. They've worked through appropriate etiquette for an interview, handshakes, how should you dress, how should you greet somebody when you go in for an interview. We've had 4 students who have decided they wanted to fill out applications and try and find employment in our community. 2 have already been hired and 2 have interviews scheduled. So we're working on that. They work on social skills in the classroom. They work on conflict resolution. There's many different personalities in this room. So learning that, it's okay to disagree with somebody. How do you handle it if you disagree with somebody? They work on manners. Please and thank you. If they want to do something, they have to ask politely. They have to treat the others in the room with respect. They have to treat the staff with respect. They take responsibility for the classroom. The students every day, at the end of the day, pick up all the trash in the room. They take the trash out to the dumpster. They sweep the floor. They mop the floor that needs mopped. They have dishes they've used during lunch. They take them to the sink and they wash them. Dustin Bentz over there has asked them occasionally, hey, can you help me? We've got an event coming up. Why don't we go around? And they've helped them clean up trash. They've helped them pick up around the building. So they're really learning that responsibility. And so one of the things they also work on is how do you show respect for yourself? And so respecting themselves enough that they make better decisions when they go forward. Some of the outcomes on this, we've had 20 students assigned to PACE during the year. So those 20 students who were not put on homebound are not expelled from school. As of yesterday morning, they had earned 115 credits. I received a text right before this that 4 more credits were earned today. There will be many more that are earned. We do have, like I said, a few students working through Google Classroom, so those credits won't be earned until the end of the semester. But those kids working through Google Classroom are passing all of their classes. So that will be more credits earned in that last week of school. We are receiving compliments from teachers and staff. Some of the ones that are working on Google Classroom, those teachers have taken a prep period and come over and saw them. And they've commented on how respectful the kids are in the classroom. They sit there and, yes ma'am, no ma'am, please, thank you. The bus driver that drives them over said she has never had more respectful students on a bus. Even to the point she's actually buying them lunch one day as a thank you. So they're also working with each other to complete work. We have some students who are good at math, some students who are good at science, language arts. So if they see another student in need and the teacher's busy working with another group, then they go and help them. They try and work with them on self-editing. We have one student in there who's an upperclassman, and he is really working with them when he sees them. If they do something nice, he's like, hey, good job, dude. And he's high-fiving the 7th and 8th graders that are in there, and they love it. They really are this little family unit now. So we did, because the numbers got up to 17 at this point, because we did have a couple that went back to their original placement. We've moved over the para here at the end. We had a hard time finding that para. We did find somebody who was interested, but with only a month left of school, we've decided to sub it in. It made more sense than trying to hire a new person here at the end. And so those two people are really working well together. They're able to take smaller groups. They're able to, if we have one group that is getting a little antsy, one can take them on a walk while the others who are still working. So it's worked really well having that teacher and that para in the room as well. So
we had mentioned we'd bring an update since it was a pilot program this year. So Mandy was sharing that update, and we'd like to come back in the future and talk about possible staffing.
questions?
You said 20 made it, any not make it.
We did have a couple that, no, but not for behavioral issues. We've had a couple that had to go because of some medical reasons. But I will tell you, the ones that had to be removed from that classroom for medical reasons, they still get on their computers, and she still monitors them on GoGuardian.
Good. Thank you.
And so they're still working regularly.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Randy? That item was an inform item, so thank you for that. The next item under new business is Latchkey 23-20 to 26 contract approval. Todd?
Yes, so we opened up our latchkey bid. We have to do that every 3 years. Throughout the process, we have narrowed it down to the Boys and Girls Club, and I would like to ask for approval to have the Boys and Girls Club continue to do our latchkey program. So moved.
I have a motion by Travis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Congratulations, Tim. We'll move down under professional staff, under recommendations.
Yes, I'm stepping in for Lisa on this one this evening. All of the recommendations are for the 23-24 school year that I'm going to be reading through. So Dylan Boswell, asking for approval for him to be a Brush Creek Elementary teacher. Hannah Clark, who has been our behavior specialist at Grand Creek, asking for her to move to a permanent teaching position. Josh Land, asking for approval for Josh Land to be the high school assistant principal. Sam Lau, from Sand Creek teacher to a Sand Creek instructional coach. Cassidy Oles for Sand Creek elementary teacher. Damian Rigby, moving to a permanent position as a JCMS social studies teacher. And Caitlin Roll, moving to JCMS as an English language arts teacher. So asking for approval for those positions for the next school year.
Do I have a motion for those recommendations as read? I have a motion by Mary Lynn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Cheryl. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Maybe we have some people present.
We have Dylan Boswell here this evening, and we also have Josh Land. And we like to have a tradition of having you go around and shake everyone's hand, and you gentlemen will walk through.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I agree.
to hear that we're joining, having people come and join our team. I believe that this is an amazing school corporation, and I'm happy to be associated with it. So thank you, and thank you guys for being here tonight and letting us shake your hands. So next we'll move down under support staff. We have another list of recommendations.
I have a long list asking for approval this evening. Willard Barnes for a summer custodial intern position. Nancy Bott, summer custodial intern. Billy J. Ford, Jennings County High School custodian, 3rd shift. Thomas Forney, Jennings County Schools summer custodial intern. Ashley Heidel, central office summer intern. Seth Hulse, summer tech intern. Brock Eisen, summer tech intern. Tommy Kilborn, summer mowing intern. Gavin Lau, summer custodial intern. Andrew Likens, summer custodial intern. Margaret Miller, summer custodial intern. Tyler Moore, summer tech intern. Cassidy Olds, summer tech intern. Olivia Owens for the high school girls head soccer coach. Ian Sawyer, summer tech intern. Kenneth Stinson, summer mowing intern. Skylar Templeton, summer transportation intern. Jeremiah Wade, summer mowing intern. Misty Wingate, JCMS cook to NDE cook. And Evan Zorlot, summer tech intern. Asking for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion by Pat. Do I have a second? Second by Earl. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Another great list. Next, we'll move down to permission to post an elementary position.
So we are asking for permission to post an elementary instrumental music position. This allows us to bring instrumental music, both band and strings, back to our elementary level. We'd like to be able to provide this as a new opportunity to our students. We think it will help with recruitment, retaining students, and it brings that love of music to the lower grades. So we're very excited to ask for permission to post that position.
So moved.
I
Gladly.
have a motion by Pat. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mary Lynn. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you.
Very exciting. And I wish Susan Wallman was here to see this. She would be very proud and very pleased. So I'll make sure to call her when this meeting is done.
And thank you to Mr. Billings for attending tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next, we'll move down under finances. We have some donations.
Yes, we do. I'm asking for approval to accept anonymous donation, $150 to Brush Creek 6th grade celebration. Tea Cake Baptist Church, $250 to Graham Creek for families in need. Mike Wascom, $420.39 to Hayden for microphones and ear set cables. Four Corners KFC Council, $150 to the high school culinary arts class. Betty Eggleston, the First Methodist Church Mission Committee. Juanita McClellan, George Horseman, Kathy Branham, Wilma and Joel Benford in memory of Mindy Jester, $150 to the high school music department. Four Corners Employment, $300 to the high school student lunch balances. Jeannie James in memory of John James, $100 to the Hope Food Program. And Graham Creek Student Council, $1,125 to the Hope Food Program.
Do I have a motion to accept those donations as read? Motion by Earl. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Cheryl. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Next, under finance, we have a couple of resolutions. Philip?
Yes, first resolution would be a resolution to authorize the issuance of general obligation bond for the purpose of providing funds to pay for a portion of the 2023 Jennings County High School facility renovation.
Do I have a motion to accept that resolution?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Lynn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Second resolution?
The second resolution is tied to the first resolution because of the way the budgeting process is. So this is a resolution authorizing the additional appropriation of the 2023 general obligation bond proceeds and interest.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept that resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Pat, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cheryl, any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Next resolution is standard, since there'll be more than 2 weeks between this meeting and our next one on June 1st. So it's a resolution authorizing the treasurer or deputy treasurer of the corporation to make payments of claims without board action prior to the June 1st, 2023, and to allow the treasurer, deputy treasurer to make transfers, appropriations within education, debt service, operations in order to balance major account classifications.
Do I have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
Make a motion to accept.
Motion by Travis, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mary Lynn, any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. And then we have a transfer.
The next is an inform. This is basically the formality of what was approved back in October when we approved the 2023 budget. But the way the rules are set up with the state, when you actually are going to make the transfer, you have to have a resolution to do it. So next meeting on June 1st, I'll bring a resolution to transfer the $2.5 million from education fund to operation fund to reimburse operations for expenses not allocated to student instruction and learning for the 2023 budget year. So I'll be bringing that to the next meeting, but I just wanted to get you guys ahead of that and let you know.
So that item isn't informed, that will come back to the next meeting. Next, under property, Roy?
Yeah, I'm asking for board approval for the Pool Group Incorporated's contract for the masonry work at North Fern Elementary. They were the low bidder on the project and just now deemed the contract, so asking for approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept that?
Make a motion.
I'll take a motion from Travis, do I have a second? Second from Cheryl. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. And then now down under operations, school safety update.
I just want to give an update. We've been working very hard throughout this year, working with Derek Simpson from Shield Up Defense on school safety. Our latest items are we plan on a press release in June with all of our updates being shared kind of collectively that we've worked on so far this year. That'll include information including our county safety commission. That's actually going to be required that each county has it. We're ahead of the game with it. We are receiving wonderful support from law enforcement and others within the community for school safety resources. We have a meeting coming up this month. We're looking at some grants on physical safety upgrades. We'll have increased SRO staffing next year. We will have updated training and protocols that were given to us by consultation through law enforcement. So a lot of upgrades and updates, and I'll have all that into a collective press release in June that can be shared.
There's a lot of work that you have done, others have done. We, again, appreciate that. Obviously, school safety is a priority. So. Next, under relations, we have a couple of MOUs.
Yes, we're asking for approval with an MOU with Indiana University it's a standard agreement for our student teaching placement, and it's all of Indiana University's campuses. We're asking for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion by Pat. Do I have a second? Second by Mary Lynn. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. And then a second.
Yes, also asking for an approval of Centerstone MOU with Jennings County Schools. We're required by the IDOE to have an annual agreement with a local student service provider. We've been using Centerstone for the last several years. This is the same MOU agreement we had previous year.
Do I have a motion to accept that? MOU? I have a motion by Travis. Do I have a second? Second by Cheryl. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. I think we're down under other.
I have a couple brief things. I just want to say congratulations to Graham Creek Elementary. They were recognized by the state this week as a STEM certified school. That is a very big deal. That is not all corporations or schools in the state. It's a very limited number. It involves a multi-year process of hard work and the entire building working at it. And progress for our kids. So I just want to say congratulations to them. That's huge. Then I just want to thank the board, actually. Just tonight, you have upgraded our CTE programming for our kids through that bonding process, bringing back local health sciences, culinary arts, and advanced manufacturing, and then we've increased arts opportunities for our kids in the elementary. So thank you to your support of that work for our kids.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion or anything under other, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mary Lynn, do I have a second? Second by Earl, all those